Well, unless we're on Twitter, we're live.
I think we might be live on Twitter somewhere. This is not a great start here today.
Aaron says reset it.
Sure.
Aaron says reset. Now. Are we?
Okay.
Are we sure? On YouTube?
Big day today.
Okay, we are live on YouTube. All right. I already did the ad read, folks. Listen to the podcast if you want the ad read. We're gonna dive right in.
All those 8 minutes in there.
Whatever. We're diving right into it. Let's go. Andrei Kuzmenko extension. We've been talking about it for like 5 minutes, folks. But we're sorry we're so late.
It's also really good because I'm like, where do you want to start with the Kuzmenko thing? Let's start with going live on YouTube. That's where we'll start.
So we're set. We're all set now.
Get into it.
Just minor technical difficulties where the show doesn't actually hit the air, but we're here now. Andrei Kuzmenko's extension. We've been talking about for a while, Chris, the not getting caught up in the semantics of retool and rebuild. And the thing that I always said to you was, I'm not going to complain about that for 5 shows in a row. What I am going to do is talk about each move and talk about why I like a move and why I don't like a move. So I thought it'd be fitting to do a pros and cons of the Andrei Kuzmenko extension. 2 years. And again, repeating it for the people that were on the live show and, we weren't live. 2 years at $5.5 million annually for Andrei Kuzmenko. 12-team, no trade clause on that deal.
I'll start with a pro.
Okay.
Dan Milstein, the agent for Andrei Kuzmenko, just set up the best potential contract extension after this one for himself. This is an amazing deal for Andrei Kuzmenko because the next 2 seasons, he's likely to play a lot of minutes with Elias Pettersson. And if he continues to have success, he's going to hit free agency as a 28-year-old who can play with top-end players and is going to be potentially the winger of Elias Pettersson's maximum prime. Like, what a great spot for Kuzmenko to get paid in. And Dan Milstein, I think, knows exactly what he's doing. When he wanted to sign a bridge deal, he's been talking about a bridge deal for a long time. He's going to absolutely maximize the value with the cap going up down the road. I tell you what, the biggest pro in my eyes is how much money Andrei Kuzmenko is going to make from this situation. That's my biggest pro. Is it not? It's the biggest.
You're right. It's not a pro
positive.
For Canucks
if you look at the whole situation, the biggest positive here is how much money Andrei Kuzmenko can potentially make. And not just in this contract. This contract makes sense. This is a solid money for value contract. Excellent deal for Andrei Kuzmenko. The Canucks, they're going to get their value out of this because he's probably going to be playing, like I said, a lot with Pettersson. But not only how many playoff, I was going to ask, how many playoff games are they going to win in these next 2 years? How many playoff games are they going to be in the next 2 years? What's the best case scenario for the Vancouver Canucks? Think about it. The best case scenario for the Vancouver Canucks in this spot would be the best legitimate. Because the best case scenario is they win the Stanley Cup next year. That's not going to happen. The best case scenario for the Canucks is maybe he hits his prime at 29. Right? Maybe he doesn't have the most incredible 2 years here. We can still lock him down at a decent contract. Then he hits his prime at 29. Is that not the best case for the Vancouver Canucks here?
About? Yeah, no, you're Seriously. Right. You're right. Okay. I think what it comes down to, Chris, and another pro. Let's get all the pros out of the way first. I feel like we're going to have a few more cons. Another pro that I want to bring up, Pettersson gets his line mate here for 2 more years. You keep Elias Pettersson happy, sure. Another pro, the contract is fine. 2 years at $5.5 million in a vacuum for Andrei Kuzmenko's production. That's a fine contract. Okay. The Canucks keep a player and his agent happy. Kuzmenko wanted to stay here.
Milstein's already very happy with the Canucks.
Well, I'm saying they're keeping him happy. They're keeping him happy. They're keeping Kuzmenko happy. And that's about it for the pros, I think. Okay. Now let's get into some cons. Because on the same side of all of those things, Pettersson gets his line mate. That's great. The contract is fine in a vacuum. That's fantastic. But for the Canucks, it's not a good contract. 2 years at $5.5 million for another winger? You don't need all of these wingers. And again, you look at where you are in your competitive cycle if you're the Canucks, right? And people are saying, well, I didn't want to see them trade Kuzmenko because what if they could only get a 2nd-round pick and a B-level prospect for Kuzmenko? That's great. That's a fine return. If that's all you could get, I think they could have got more than that. But people will say, oh, well, I don't like this. And this idea that the Canucks needed to keep Kuzmenko because they weren't going to get a first plus for him on the trade market. It makes no sense. whatever you think the best case scenario, what do you think the best case scenario is of keeping Kuzmenko right now on this contract if you're the Canucks? Like, what is the best case scenario?
For the Canucks, it's what I said. It's like he doesn't hit his prime for another 2 years. You just push down the road and hope that he hits his prime then.
It makes no sense.
And then you get him then. Like
it makes no sense. And I tweeted this out from the Canucks Army account, and I'm gonna say it again. A week ago, we hear major surgery needs to be done to this roster. Major surgery needs to be done to this roster, says the surgeon before rubbing some dirt on it. Like, holy cow, what are we doing here? And I'm not, again, I wanted to come out here and be as impartial as possible. That's why I wanted to do pros and cons instead of just coming out and saying this deal sucks, blah, blah, blah. Because, again, the deal doesn't suck.
I'll give you a pro.
Sure.
We get to talk to Andrei Kuzmenko in the media for 2 more years. That's a big pro in my eyes. That makes me happy when I go to the rink.
That's great. When it comes to the direction of this team, though, this is a laughable misstep. Like, laughable misstep for this team. And again, this is nothing against Andrei Kuzmenko. Everybody gets confused whenever you say stuff like this. So,
no, you know what? I don't
think
they do. I don't think you need to say that anymore.
Okay, sure. Andrei Kuzmenko's got a 25% shooting percentage right now. Okay? That's coming back down to earth. His production's going to drop. It is another example, again, of a winger, keep in mind, that the Canucks have just bought high on. Like, the Canucks' plan, you ask for a plan, Chris? Their plan is, well, we're going to extend and keep and clutch on to every good player we have. And then when those good players start to regress or are bad, we're going to give up assets to get out of that so that we can sign more good players. It's simple, really. It's not working. This is not the way to do it. And again, I was not critical of the team when they came out and said they wanted to retool. I was going to judge them on each move that they made. That was how I wanted to go about this. They've made their move, and I'm judging them big time. This is a bad move for this team right now. Not getting assets for Kuzmenko. And by the way, don't even get me started on the whole fact that every team knows they can't afford Bo Horvat now. Yeah. So all this leverage they were talking about, and we're not going to let anybody talk to his agent about an extension. What are you doing? You've got no leverage, and you have to hope. I won't even say you have to think, because you don't have to think about this with this team. You don't have to think this. You hope that the Canucks have a trade lined up for Bo Horvat, and the team already knows that they're going to make this deal, and it's basically just dotting some I's and T's and whatever, right? Crossing your T's. That's what you hope for this team right now, because they have put themselves in such a position right now where not only have they made this move for Kuzmenko, which we've made pretty clear, has far more cons than it does pros for this team, right? They bought high on a winger again, like another winger. This 24 hours, not even, after you play against the Seattle Kraken, who, look at their team, is just 4 lines. Like, you want to run 4 lines? You don't do it like this. You don't do it by just paying big for wingers. Like, you have to, I don't even know what to say. Like, I literally, this team is going to give me, like, I literally feel like I'm losing brain cells covering and talking about this team.
It feels like, and there's a good comment in here from Commander Vander, but it's bang on, where it's another spot where how many times in the Jim Benning era did you see buy high and sell low? And that's what Commander Vander said. This is what it feels like here. They're like, it's not like you're buying, like, you're probably buying value here on the 2 years, but are you really buying value in the long term of this of even, say Kuzmenko signs after this deal? Like, you're buying even higher then on him at that point. So, like, if the Canucks really thought Kuzmenko, from 40 whatever games he's played, if they thought he was going to be like a long-term fix for Pettersson, then they probably should have gone for the approach of long-term. Now it's just like, the only way the Canucks can win this deal with, like, the actual process of the deal is if they're winning in the next 2 years. And I find that so hard to accomplish.
And I just have to go against this argument here. And Corey Anderson, regular commenter in the chat. Corey, we always appreciate your contributions, but I've seen this from too many people, and I got to pick this apart right now. He said, you guys are assuming every winger with this team will be back. The next 6 months will have to be judged as a whole. If they buy out Pearson, Garland, and trade Besser, then this makes more sense. Okay, so put more money on the books, okay? More dead money on the book. Canucks have more than enough of that. And then just trade the player that you might have to actually give up assets for. That's the whole point of the trade Kuzmenko argument is, yeah, you've got Garland and Besser here, and yeah, they're not as good as Kuzmenko is right now, but maybe don't sell on those guys because you're not really going to be competitive over the next 2 years anyway, and start to make smart moves where you're just loading up on assets whenever possible. It's this never-ending cycle of what I just said. Well, let's just trade the bad players. Let's just get rid of the bad players. Newsflash, and I'm not directing this at Corey. Newsflash for everybody out there. Other teams see your bad players and know that they are bad players. They are not giving up a second or first round pick for Brock Besser. They may have done that for Kuzmenko. There were teams calling the Canucks wanting to trade for Andrei Kuzmenko. The whole time, the Canucks have made it clear that they intend to re-sign this player. That was what I've been told the entire time. They never really entertained the idea of trading Kuzmenko. I think that's just a gigantic misstep by this team, and I will not listen to the argument that, well, it's fine because they can buy out Pearson and Garland and then they can trade Besser as well. You're giving up assets to do that. And one of those assets is money, right? Like, again.
And flexibility.
You gain so much flexibility with the cap. You would have had a draft pick to play with. And again, like, think of having 3 first-round picks. You don't even have to use all those. I say this once an episode. Look at what the Montreal Canadiens were able to do by just having so much draft capital. They traded for a 21-year-old center. You know what? No team is probably trading Andrei Kuzmenko for a 21-year-old center that the Canucks want, right?
Yeah.
It's probably not going to happen. But a team is trading a first-round pick, like a mid to late first-round pick, plus a third or whatever it was that.
No, but not even that. This is what sucks for Canucks fans is Canucks fans will never know the power of having a trade asset prospect.
Yes.
Okay? Because I've seen the argument of like, but are you guaranteed that late first round pick is going to hit? No, but look at what teams are doing right now. Look at what the Vancouver Canucks are doing with the Carolina Hurricanes and Scotty Moore, who was picked in the second round. Look at Brock Faber, who was picked in the second round. Drew Hellison was picked in the second round. Right shot defensemen who were picked in the second round. How much value they have on a trade deadline. Like, the Canucks fans, unfortunately, the way this team is run, they're never going to know what it's like to have a valuable trade aspect prospect. Like, even if they wanted to be good, and add, they can't. Like, they literally can't. Like, it's unreal to see. And I feel so unfortunate because, like, people have been making that argument, like, yeah, but this late first round pick is not going to be as valuable as Kuzmenko might be. Yeah, it is, man.
And for what?
And you get to save the money.
Is Kuzmenko pushing you to the playoffs? No. Maybe he gets you closer, right? Like, yeah, he probably gets you closer than Lane Peterson on Elias Pettersson's wing.
Yep.
Okay? He probably gets you closer. But look at this team right now. Like, this idea of just, well, we're just going to keep retooling, and the way to do that is to keep all of our good players and get rid of all of our bad ones. It's not that simple. You need flexibility, and the Canucks continuously don't give themselves flexibility. And this is the end. This is the end of me ever saying, for Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin, defending them when they bring up the argument of, well, you know, like, it's really hard to make moves in a flat cap environment, and we need to free up cap space, and we don't have any cap space. I'm not listening to that. They've committed too much money to wingers.
I quickly just was like, and I don't have the numbers exactly right, but this is just like the rough draft me doing it before I counted in for some of the LTI guys and even included Tanner Pearson as an LTI guy. The Canucks like go into next year let's assume Poolman and Pearson are on an LTI. I think it's 13 guys under contract. So 9 spots to fill, 10 spots to fill for your full roster at the NHL level. They have like $12 million. Like, you're about to rely on, you know, hopefully Höglander doesn't ask for anywhere near $2 million because you're not gonna be able to afford Höglander.
Better keep him in the A if you don't
like,
want.
You need to now fill the rest of this roster. You have to, like, the roster is going to lose Horvat. You're going to lose Luke Schenn. You're going to have to.
They might re-sign him too.
You're going to have to pay Ethan Bear to keep him in. And then you're looking, and Bear's not going to be under $1 million. No way, man. Then you're going to have to fill the rest of your lineup with like 10 spots of guys. So you take this Canucks team, you take away their leading goal scorer. You add in Podkolzin, right? He's still on his ELC. You add in Höglander. He's going to need another contract. It's not going to be huge. And then it's like, okay, so you lost Horvat. You lost Schenn. You're also now needing to bring up like pretty much 10 guys who make $1 million or less. That's what the team's going to look like next year.
The thing is,
that's
Chris,
crazy to think that. And then you look at it and it's okay. So that team next year doesn't sound very good. That does not sound like a good playoff team unless you find like the most valuable $950,000 players in the world. But that's half of this deal that you just signed for Kuzmenko. When you could have added prospects, you also could have had that extra 5.5 in cap space. It just doesn't, like, man, like we said, we have to judge this management group now off of the things they've said about retooling and being competitive in 2 to 3 years. I don't see how the Kuzmenko deal really helps that much, because I don't think they're competitive next year. The way we just talked about the roster, man, they are not adding much on this team.
This is embarrassing. This is an embarrassing way to go about your business if you're an NHL organization in the position where the Canucks are. This is flat out embarrassing. Like, I tried to come in here and not,
dude, you are going to need, look at this next year sign, like Myers, OEL, Hughes, Stillman. Okay. And like I said, Ethan Bear is going to need more money.
Now, hang on a sec.
But here's the thing. You are going to fill the bottom of your defense core, the bottom pairing, with guys that are like worse than Riley Stillman.
You might have to fill 3 center positions with guys who are worse than Riley Stillman.
Yeah. Oh.
3 center positions, Chris. 3 lines. You have Elias Pettersson, and then you're going to have Jack Studnicka, followed by Sheldon Dries, followed by Lane Peterson playing center.
You better start to get used to, people better start to learn the game of Justin Dowling. He's a good example in the AHL. He's going to be a center in the NHL next year for the Canucks. Maybe you're going to get ready. John Stevens, hell of a leader down in the AHL. Get used to him.
Don't start with
He's playing 3C for you next year in Vancouver.
Don't start with this. Okay,
no, seriously.
Here's the other thing. On the other side of what I just said, right? Like, here's a positive take on the situation.
Okay.
With this signing, and we look at how bleak the cap situation is and all that sort of stuff and how hard it's going to be to fill a roster, I wonder if they have gotten the green light on a Oliver Ekman-Larsson buyout. I wonder. It would free up a lot of cap space next year. And again, this is one of those things, and I know, look, I only blow up when they make the bad move. I'm not gonna come and, I wasn't gonna spend weeks on end crying about them not rebuilding or saying the word rebuild. I'm gonna criticize them on each move they make, okay? Right now, I'm not going to bother talking too much in the same vein about, look at the cap situation with Kuzmenko, because there's something coming. They've got to do something here. I just don't know if I'm going to like what they do. Like, I don't think buying out Garland is the smartest idea for this team. And it looks like they might end up doing that. Like, you had the chance to trade Kuzmenko. And again, this is the thing, Chris, when it comes to keeping the market happy and keeping your fans happy, this market's been crying for a rebuild, like legitimately begging the team to rebuild. That doesn't happen often in pro sports. It's usually like disciplined general managers and owners that have to try and convince their fans, like, hey, you know what? We're going to have to rebuild. This market is begging for a rebuild. If they've traded Kuzmenko for a 2nd-round pick and a B-level prospect and came out to the fans and said, you know what? We weren't going to be able to sign Kuzmenko to something that made sense for us, so we had to trade him, and that's how we ended up here. There's not going to be fans saying, I can't believe they did this to me. I really liked Kuzmenko. There might be a couple fans that are upset about it in a vacuum, but when you explain your process and you say, you know what, this deal doesn't make sense, because let's be clear, the deal they had to sign and ended up signing, it doesn't make sense for the Canucks. It literally doesn't. It does not make sense for them in their competitive window. It's a fine contract. I like Andrei Kuzmenko, the player. The Canucks are not in a position to be taking any risk right now.
Yeah.
They need to be taking sure moves. And the only sure move here, Chris, was to sell Andrei Kuzmenko for whatever prospect and whatever pick you get. Even if those don't turn out and all you're left with is cap space, that's a win. That's a win for where this team's at. So don't give me that B-level prospect might not turn out. Well, that 1st-round pick might not turn out. Don't give me that, because you're getting the cap space for sure. And that is an advantage for this team that they've now lost.
Because it's like, I want to say that it's like me and Harm talked about this one time. It's the compound that you get from the cap space that gives you another thing of value. You would have had that $5.5 million of space to buy a 1st-round pick, basically. Like, so you could have looked at this, and now that you have the money for Kuzmenko, it's crazy to think Kuzmenko's value loss compared to what you could have gained in a trade is basically now 2 1st-round picks. Because now you're paying him for next year and the year after that. If you'd done this right and used that cap space to just take some team's player who's making $5.5 million and completely sucks, dude.
Okay, and here's the thing.
Dude, I just like
you laugh about it.
No, I know. I'm trying to like care and stuff, but it's like it's really hard to like. It's hard for us to like give an opinion and think that it's actually something that can happen a lot of the time now. Like it seriously is, because we have been saying for a long time now what you can gain if you went the right way and you flipped Luke Schenn, you flipped Bo Horvat, you flipped Andrei Kuzmenko.
Just one disciplined deadline.
And we were talking about it like, man, that is what the fan base wants. That would be deserving of the fan base. Like, the fan base deserves that. And it's just like now I'm just waiting for, like, okay, now Luke Schenn is going to be extended for 2 years at 3.5. Bo Horvat is now going to sign the deal. And it's like, oh, now the Canucks are going to be, rolling next season with 15 players signed and they're already like $6 million over cap. Like, that's because what have they shown us?
They've got to know something that we don't. They have to know something we don't.
I really, yeah. And
although I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that at this point.
I don't know. Can we? Okay.
We're on our first topic. It's 30 minutes into the show. We're on our first topic. Okay, you know what? I can transition this.
Talk about the game. I got all these quotes from Rick Tocchet.
Yeah, Aaron, flip to the next segment. This is where we'll cut the clip on YouTube. But Rick Tocchet last night comes out, second game as Canucks head coach, calls his team a soft.
You want the audio?
Yeah, give me the audio. Let's hear the audio. This is Rick Tocchet after last night's loss, 6-1 loss to the Seattle Kraken, where the Canucks were just outmatched in every sense of the word.
Yeah, soft. It was you hate to call your team soft, but it was soft tonight. We didn't participate on the wall battles. We didn't get a rim out. That we knew this is a good team. We didn't play predictable. We started regrouping, like old habits came. We were just talking the coach stuff, man. I wish I had about 10 practices. I really do. And because it shows tonight that we got a lot of work to do.
A lot of work. Listen, man.
Yeah.
Okay, Rick Tocchet, tough, hard player.
I really like Rick Tocchet so far. I'm just gonna say it.
Oh yeah,
I really like Rick Tocchet.
I think he's taken like every step so far as the Canucks coach, and he's been put into a very difficult situation. He's taken every step the right way. Like many people in the hockey world believe that it's a diatribe to call a team soft. Like you and I, if we're calling a team soft, how many people in the replies are going to be like, play the game? Like you can't, you've never been this level. You don't know. Okay. Rick Tocchet played the game hard, and he's absolutely allowed to use that word when he talks about this Canucks team because he understands it and he's been at that level. So I can, my version of calling the Canucks soft, and I don't think I've ever called the Canucks soft because I would think that my opinion on how soft a team is wouldn't matter. But Rick Tocchet calling his own team soft in game 2. And like, I think Bruff tweeted this out. The one where like he is literally speechless in game 2. In game 2, he hasn't spent 30 minutes talking about this team yet to the media, and he's speechless.
What do we even say about this team?
Oh, this team doesn't need a retool, dude. It needs to take Nickelback on tour with them, burn everything to the ground, like straight up. There's a much better chance that way. The coach is in game 2 and he's speechless, calling them soft, calling out the lead. Can we hear about you love this, Quads, the holes? I got this audio too. The holes in leadership. Aaron, can we run this clip? This is Rick Tocchet talking about holes in the lineup and the leadership being questioned.
Well, listen, we all know there's some holes we got to fill. We got to get that leadership group stronger, more resilient team, obviously. And listen, I'm not making excuses, but maybe the anxiety caught up to them, and it looked like everybody looked tired. Everybody couldn't handle a puck. Usually, some games you have 3 or 4 guys that don't look good, but it seemed like There's a couple of guys actually really trying out there, but the rest of the guys are really struggling tonight, and maybe the anxiety hit their legs. I don't know.
Rick Tocchet just described every freaking Canucks game we've seen this year where he's like, you know what? 3 or 4 guys looked good. Yes, Rick, this is what the team looks like. And this isn't a criticism of Tocchet. Like this, I'm not trying to criticize Tocchet and say what an idiot or anything like that. I'm just saying,
Tocchet is nailing it so far.
Dude,
Tocchet is like, he's picking up everything extremely fast.
He's like,
in this organization.
He's like, hey, wait a second. Most of the guys look like they weren't trying to win puck battles. Guys weren't blocking shots. Wait a second. Only 3 or 4 guys looked like they were trying. Wait a second. We can't break a puck out of our own zone. Wait a second. We don't know how to forecheck. Wait a second. Like, he's catching it all up, but the thing that I think we're going to realize is he's seeing that this is what this team is right now. And they do need major surgery. But instead, I understand he wants 10 practices, and I understand, hey, look, the people taking victory laps being like, it wasn't a coaching problem, and like, of course it wasn't a coaching problem, but the people taking victory laps being like, well, Tocchet's systems suck. It's like, he hasn't implemented them.
Dude, they
He's
got
had
to
one
a point
practice.
of Cheech, who's like, Cheech is I tell you, I don't know how he keeps so positive. He even said last night, like driving a Mack truck to the passing lanes. Cheech, like the most positive guy around this Vancouver Canucks team. Did you see him on After Hours that one day? Like
we have
believe it.
I'm
going crazy, dude. I'm going crazy.
Yeah, we're just laughing and pulling our hair out at this point. Like we feel like we're going insane. Like this team is, and again, I know there's a lot of fans that would say this. This team is driving you insane.
I hope that I am just the dumbest person. I hope that I just have the worst read on this organization. I hope I'm so wrong, man, because I just like I just want to see, like, I'd like to see them have some success. I'd like to see the fan base like enjoy a good team. It's just like, man, I hope I'm so wrong. I hope I'm so dumb and wrong about this Canucks team, but I don't think I am, dude.
We're just going.
I don't think that I'm that stupid. I don't think that I have read this situation that incorrectly. I swear, I really hope I did, man. I really hope that I did.
I just okay. And quickly here, I know we got to get to your little updates thing that you've got.
Yeah, I know. And then I have all these like little level updates.
Hang on a sec, because this, before the Kuzmenko extension happened today, I texted you last night. I said, man, I want to talk about the Seattle Kraken and how they're built, okay? I want to point out one little move that we at Canucks Army pointed out right away. It was Noah Strang that wrote the article. Kudos to Noah. Eli Tolvanen, or Ellie, whatever his name is, Tolvanen, goes on waivers on December 12th, December 13th, or something like that. The Canucks were ahead of the Kraken in the waiver claim eligibility time. They could have claimed him, okay? If they put in a claim and the Kraken put in a claim, he's property of the Canucks. The Canucks, for whatever reason, don't put in a claim. And hey, you know what? That reason that people say is like, well, they didn't have the cap space. Okay. Stop committing big money to wingers so that you can take advantage of moments like this where a former first-round pick hits the waiver wire. Guy's got 8 goals on the year. Like, that is good production for a guy you pick up on the waiver wire, and he can play in your bottom 6, and the Kraken are running 4 lines, and they're doing it well, and the Canucks say that they want to be a team that runs 4 lines, and they wonder why they can't do it. Dude, and it's going to drive me up a wall.
They used to say, like, I remember hearing this like a year ago, right? From like really smart hockey people, like Ray Ferraro used this term a lot. You can't put a Band-Aid on a broken bone. The Canucks are now not only putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone, they are putting the Band-Aid where they actually need major surgery.
They're putting name brand Band-Aids and thinking that it'll fix it. They're putting name brand Band-Aids on the broken bones and thinking it'll fix it. Right where they need surgery, they're putting Band-Aids.
Man, I'm so jealous that you don't have to come here tomorrow. I'm so jealous that you do. Like, I'm seriously going crazy, dude.
And I apologize. I apologize for yelling, folks. I don't like to yell right now.
The walls are good in here, man.
Whatever. Are they?
I think they are.
I'm not gonna
They're good, strong walls in here. Yeah. Really nice view out the window.
Yeah, of Rogers Arena right below.
Yeah.
Okay. I just we're gonna keep talking about this.
No, let me. Okay, because as much as I don't want to talk about this anymore, can I talk about some stuff that I like? Just like,
yeah, can I just take a breather? I'm gonna go fill up my water. This is the problem with.
No, I want you. Got to stay in here for these things and keep me going because you always check out so hard. Enjoy this with
someone's gonna see me walking home, and I'm just gonna be like the whole time, just like talking to myself on the road. That's what this team is causing me to do.
Sit down and enjoy this with me because these are. I come with the positivity as much as I can. And I got some of it today.
And anyone who's mad at me on this episode or whatever, just think about how positive I've been for the last, when everybody's complaining and saying, "Oh, he said the word rebuild." I was so positive about all that. I was so positive.
Your team retool, yeah.
I was saying, you know what? They can retool if they do it right. Now I'm criticizing moves. This move sucks.
Yeah.
And I'm done. I'm not keeping it up. I'm done. Go ahead. Sorry, you got stuff. Go ahead.
I have exciting stuff. Or not exciting, not even exciting, just like pretty mostly positive.
I have news.
There's some negative stuff in here. Listen, last 24 hours, I've talked to a lot of agents. talked to a lot of people, and was out in Abbotsford. So I got a lot of updates here to get to. Okay. Starting with Vasily Podkolzin. I got an audio clip for this too. I hope Aaron's got this. I think he does. Vasily Podkolzin being put into some of the most important offensive situations out there in Abbotsford Quads. He's on the right half wall on the power play now, getting his one-timer off, and he was used on the right side during the 6-on-5, and that was the guy that they were trying to get the puck to. So the offensive situations for Podkolzin, he's getting them, being relied upon for more offense. I asked him about the opportunity yesterday. Very much appreciates it. This is Vasily Podkolzin talking about that opportunity.
Yeah, that's so appreciated. Yeah, that's a big opportunity for me, and a big response as well, because it's when coach trusts you to last shot. It's always important and always appreciated for me, and just keep working and keep going.
Yeah, keep working, keep going. That's what he's doing.
What did he say at the start?
I don't know. Something.
I thought he said this opera crap, but he didn't say crap.
Opportunity is good.
Oh,
but he had to get to that word. It took him a second to figure
his English is really good.
Oh, and he's funny too. Yesterday,
he's got a good,
I asked him yesterday. I mentioned, hey, Kuzmenko called Gonchar a legend. And this is right after we finished, because I mentioned this is just as he's taking his mic off and we're just talking. And then he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, that's Kuzi just trying to get more ice time, probably. As he's like walking away with his wife. It was very
He
funny.
signs an extension the next day.
Yeah, well, good call. I mean, Gonchar is probably on board for it. Nils Höglander. Okay, this is the feeling I get. I don't think, I've been saying for a while, I think they're going to leave Höglander in the AHL for a while. I don't think he's going to be in Abbotsford for as long as I originally thought. This is from his camp. There's no worry from him about staying in the AHL, from him or his camp. He's comfortable there in the AHL. He's aware of what the situation wants him to work on. His agent flew in from Sweden. He's here this weekend. Okay, I talked to him last night at the game. He's doing good. Hugs is good. He's playing great, and they want him to play with a little more grit. He's doing that down in the AHL. Watch him come up in the NHL and be a feisty little cracker again. He's throwing elbows again down there. You see this last week? He's throwing elbows again. So I think he's comfortable. He knows that there's things to work on. So don't worry about him in the AHL. And just from what I heard, I don't think it's going to be much longer down there either. I think they want to get him back up. Him and Pods are coming back here pretty soon. So we talked about this a lot yesterday. I said to let him sit, let him stay out of this tire fire. But from what I heard yesterday, not much longer. He will be back in the NHL this year.
Before you continue here, Brian Urquhart jumped in the chat and said, Canucks equal 500 hockey for life. Once you get used to this idea, life is easier. 1 second. Because Brian makes a really good point. I'm not going to start screaming. Here. 1 sec.
Okay.
The Canucks are in a never-ending chase for a 500 record, it feels like. Like, playoff spot aside.
No, look for a 550 record getting in the playoffs.
No. They're hopeful that they can compete for a playoff spot, but they haven't been able to, Chris. They are instead, in reality, chasing a 500 record. This market gets so pumped anytime this team's at 500. Like, this is what we've signed up for. I'm going crazy. Okay, go ahead. You go. You got more? Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. I have more news. What did Corey say there? Would make sense to bring them up with this huge break in games. Yeah, there's going to be more. I think there's a 3-day. It's a one weekday break in the AHL, so they don't have as long as a break. I don't think it's going to be like next week, but it's not going to be as long as I thought later on in the season. So I think we're going to see them up here, and fans and everybody should likely imagine that they're going to be down in the AHL for the playoff run as well. Because I'm on another hunch here. I don't think the Vancouver Canucks are going to make the playoffs. So the Abbotsford Canucks, they're looking good. They're going to make the playoffs. So expect to see them back down there for that. Jack Rathbone, okay? He won't travel with Abbotsford on this next road trip. Don't think he's going to be available until the All-Star break in the AHL, which is kind of the same time around the NHL. He won't travel with Abbotsford, but he is doing much better than the injury looked. Okay, it's I'll say, how can I say this? His body isn't injured. Does that make sense? Pick what I'm putting down.
What the hell are you talking about?
His body isn't injured. Like, I asked if it was a shoulder or an arm.
Just stop.
It's not an upper body or a lower body injury, but that's all I know. I can't say exactly what it is, but I know it's not an upper body or a lower body injury.
That's literally impossible. The upper body is from the waist up, and the lower body is from the waist down.
No, your upper body is from your...
It's not from your waist to your neck, Chris.
Belly button to your neck is fine. I'll say that.
Okay.
But he's doing better than the injury looked. I know that about Rathbone. Okay, he's doing better.
Fantastic.
He'll be back soon-ish. Okay.
Sunny Demo jumped in the chat. I probably butchered that. Said Quads rant reminds me of Joker's serious rant from The Dark Knight. This is my Joker origin story. Like I said, you're gonna see me.
I'm so jealous you get tomorrow off.
I don't get tomorrow off.
From coming here and doing this stuff. I love doing the show with Harm because, like, listen, I like doing the show with you, but when I do it with Harm, it's like I just let him run. Like Harm just talks and talks and talks. He's like Drance, and I feel like Jamie Dodd do with their show.
Harmon will be a lot calmer than I was today, I think.
He might be broken too, man.
Well, yeah.
All right, speaking of being broken, Aidan McDonough and the Canucks. The more I hear around this situation, the more I worry about him signing with the Canucks. I would not be surprised, and I'm not reporting anything here. I'm just, from my vibe, I wonder if he might be a guy who's in on the Horvat deal, actually. Like, could a team like, if Carolina's in, if Boston's in, those two teams, if the Rangers are maybe the interested team, that area, like I wouldn't be surprised if they throw McDonough's name in there to kind of just add that little bit of value that maybe if they are just getting Horvat for a rental, they're getting Horvat for a rental, but they're getting this McDonough kid who they really like out of the NCAA, might be something that I hear. And it's just, listen, when he told us, and he said it on this show, or what, I don't think it was on the show, but it was an interview in the offseason. Like his plan is to sign with the Vancouver Canucks. He told us that in the summer. That was his plan at the time. So the more and more I hear around the situation, and I'm not hearing this from him, I haven't talked to him about signing since that day, but the more rumors and stuff that I hear around this, it does make me worry about it, because I think this guy can be a nice addition to the team, and it's not like it's 90% to not happen. Like, he could very easily sign with the Canucks. It's something that could very easily happen. There's a lot of swirling rumors that I don't want to, they're out there. People are talking. And I just think that if a team is one of those Boston, Rangers, Carolina, these teams, could see him in the Horvat deal. We'll see what happens. But he might end up just signing with Vancouver and come and play. And that'd be cool. I love McDonough. He's one of the guys I've talked with the most in the prospect pool. He's a great dude, too.
Okay. Betway.
No. Last one. Jacob Truscott. It's been very good lately. 3 goals, 3 assists over his last 5 games. In those 5 games, he's holding a 67.1% control of expected goals. This is good, right? That's good in NCAA hockey. It's even better because those games, every game they play, he's with Michigan, so every game they play this month is against a top 10 ranked NCAA opponent. Number 8, Ohio State. Number 2, Minnesota. Number 6, Penn State. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Truscott here moving forward. I'll say that.
How does signing Andrei Kuzmenko get you closer to a banner? Every time Alvin's asked about something about this team, he says,
we're talking to him tomorrow, so I think
the fans are missing a banner here. How are you going to get him closer? That's not an answer. Anyways, I'm done. Okay, I'm going for my weekend. Betway. Oh, I can't even close it. Betway, go. Let's go.
One last thing about Truscott. You watch him play. I think he can play in the AHL right now. I think he can play in the AHL right now.
Good.
And he plays that role. I know the Canucks like the role that he plays and the style that he plays. He's a complimentary defenseman. He knows how to play with an offensive partner. He kills penalties.
He can probably play in the NHL too at this point.
You know what? They need some guys on ELCs to play next year.
Let's go.
Maybe he will. Maybe him and Philip Johansson will be your third pairing of the NHL next year.
Go. Betway. Get us out of here.
Betway. Let's get this going here. Mikko Rantanen. Oh, geez. This is so I rolled this, and the Avalanche are playing the Ducks. Like, come on. You got to pay them money just for the Avalanche. Anyways, Mikko Rantanen over 3.5 shots on net, minus 120. $10 bet will get you $18.33 on Betway. The other one, Avalanche to win over 6.5 total goals. Nate McKinnon to have 2 or more points. Quads, last 11 games for Nate McKinnon. How many games has he had multi-point nights in those last 11 games?
10.
No, 7. 7 of his last 11, he's had multi-point. McKinnon's rolling, baby, and he's rolling in. The Ducks are rolling in. They're about to get just smashed in Colorado against this Avalanche team. Who's won, I think, 7 in a row. So,
okay,
yeah.
Hurry up. I've got plans to
we're lagging out here.
I got plans to go kick a can down the road with Canucks management.
Okay. YouTube is completely gone at this point. So appreciate everyone in the chat. Lots of people in here.
Oh, geez.
But everyone's dropping off now. They know the lag is killing it. Okay. Anyways, podcast is good, so that's going to get posted.
Okay. 19 plus. If you choose to play responsibly.
Yeah.
Over at Betway. Okay.
Nobody got the word of the day.
A couple people did.
Diatribe.
Yeah.
Bitter or abusive speech or piece of writing. Quad's going to be writing. Quad maybe with some diatribes tonight.
Yeah, we'll see.
Diatribes.
Okay.
Diatribes?
We'll close it out there.
Diatribe?
For my co-host, Chris Faber, and our technical producer, Aaron Bordato, I'm sorry you had to listen to that, folks. My name is Dave Quadrelli. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Canucks Conversation.
Diatribe.
Thanks for listening to Canucks Conversation. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
How about keep it to a thank you, Jim?